Climate change advocates and organizations of East African member countries have called on developed countries for justices in climate change adaptation measures in developing countries. They projected for global engagements, including mass local sensitization and appropriate technologies to be adopted in developing countries to mitigate effects of climate change ahead of the global conventions. This was at a regional meeting in Kampala organized by Support for Women in Agriculture and Environment with aid from Climate Action Africa.
I put it here. I put it here.
With financial assistance from Alinea Canada in partnership with Climate Action Africa, global climate change experts and organizations from Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, Madagascar, Seychelles, South Sudan, Tanzania and Burundi have convened at Hotel Africana in Kampala to deliberate on climate change.
Uganda is looking at mitigation in terms of renewable energy, shifting to or intensifying the use of renewable energy, is looking at better ways of agricultural farming so that we minimize emission from, for example, methane from farming of rice, and also looking at the better methods of looking after animals to minimize emissions from the animals. There are other areas, the transport. How can we improve on the emission from our transport?
The regional meeting, organized by Support for Women in Agriculture and Environment, is discussing issues which will be presented at COP28 and SB 58 global conventions in Dubai and Germany this year.
The disaster risk that we are facing is very high. People are already dying from the effects of climate change. People have died of floods, of landslides. People have died of droughts in the Horn of Africa. Not even very far in Karamoja, in the Turkana, and wherever, people have died. So for us, we want to quickly stop the death of people by adaptation. But also, we want also to take part in mitigation, reducing the greenhouse gases that are damaging the environment.
Experts propose the need to adopt indigenous knowledge from developing countries to be incorporated in the global adaptation climate change measures.
Enough is enough. We should minimize processes and translate the outcomes of these negotiations into actions in the communities where most people feel the adverse impacts of climate change. We should not leave the decisions within the city. We should not leave the decision in the shelves, in the papers. These decisions need to be developed into concepts, developed into projects and actions being implemented for mitigation and adaptation.
The Executive Director, Support for Women in Agriculture and Environment, Gertrude Kenyangi, says affordable, appropriate climate change technologies should be established to enable local communities mitigate climate change effects through loss and damage fund.
For us, we are still stuck in the rut. We are still stuck in the old ways. We are still using fossil fuels. We are not